All right, here we go. My name's Jeff Kane. You're listening to episode 476 of the world-famous West Virginia Surf Report podcast.
A little bit hefty.
My Aunt Charlotte passed away this past weekend. She was, I think she was 86, I believe. And she is my dad's sister. And we lost his younger brother just a few months ago. There were six kids out of that house. And now there's only two left. My dad and the oldest of the six, still kicking. Well, I don't know how much she's kicking, but she's hanging in there. So that sucks. And the thing about that is, when my uncle died a couple months ago, they told us that he did not want to have any kind of ceremony or anything. He didn't want to have a funeral. He didn't want to have any kind of visitation or any viewing or any of that stuff. Viewing. The hell? Just think about that. But anyway, he didn't want any of that. And they went with his wishes. So I didn't go in for that. They did have some kind of a cookout or something on a weekend. I was unable to attend. Felt guilty about it. And I can't go to this either. I can't go to the funeral is going to be on Friday. Can't go. We're going to Myrtle Beach. We have non-refundables. There's a lot of non-refundables stacked up. I talked to my dad about it, and I don't know. I feel guilty about that too. I didn't even want to talk. I dreaded talking to him about it. I dreaded making the call. But he's cool. He says, he goes, you don't have to, that's fine. I mean, that's perfectly understandable. I mean, you don't have to come in for that. And I thought, yeah, but she's my aunt. She's your sister, He goes, yeah, I know, but, things happen. I don't worry about it at all. I'm serious. Don't worry about it at all. So he completely let me off the hook. I always wonder, is he being sincere or is he just being nice? But I can't, I don't know. Am I being selfish? Should I be down there? I mean, what am I going to do? What am I going to bring to the table, really? Other than just being there to be respectful? What do you think about that? I got the non-refundables stacked up. I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't. But I also don't want to, just throw, probably $1,000 or more. Well, if you include the hotel room, yeah. I mean, I don't know. The whole thing makes me. My dad completely let me off the hook. He said, "Don't worry about it at all." I'm not kidding. And I'm worried about it. See, I'm letting you guys behind, should I even be talking about this kind of stuff? It's just what's on my mind right now, among 1,000 other things. I'm real tired. I'm really tired. I know you guys probably get tired of me being tired, talking about it anyway. You can be tired, just quit talking about it. Everybody's tired. I could hear you guys thinking that right now, right? Just really tired, and I'm stressed all the time. I should not be stressed. I should not be at this level of stress at my age. You know what I'm saying? My dad said, at your age, hang on a second, let me take a hit of. Oh, that's some good, strong coffee. Whoo! I think that's at Sam's Maker's, Member's Mark? I always call it Maker's Mark. That's bourbon, right? No, Member's Mark. They make good coffee there. And or they sell good coffee. They don't make it, but they sell good coffee there. Costco's even better in my opinion. But anyway, what are we talking about? I don't remember, but what are we talking about? I can't remember what we were talking about before I went off on my coffee jag. Just tired. Oh, my dad's like, you shouldn't be so stressed at this level or at this age. I said, well, what am I supposed to do about that? It is what it is. I mean, I'm under a lot of stress. Like my old boss came and visited. I don't know, a couple months ago or maybe a month ago, and she pulled me aside and she goes, Jeff, I want to give you a little bit of advice. Don't let this place stress you out. I said, how in the hell is that supposed to? I said, I'm stressed right now. I said, right now I'm stressed. How are you supposed to not be stressed? I don't know. Anyway, really tired and stressed and feel guilt. I feel guilty all the time. I just go through life feeling guilty about things. Christmas is coming up. That is the season of high guilt. That's the time of year when I feel totally guilty all the time, even more than normal. I never feel like I do enough. I feel like everybody's disappointed. That's neurosis, but it's that's the way I feel. What are you supposed to do about it? I'm a lunatic. Anyway, the season of feeling guilty is just right around the corner. Baseball season's almost over. We're into the playoffs. I was watching that Phillies-Dodgers series. The Dodgers knocked the Reds out in 2 games. Just kicked their ass. I mean, actually the Reds kind of held their own. They didn't get blown out. They just lost both games. Yeah, it doesn't matter what the score was, Even the Reds were, they made them sweat a little bit, but they ended up losing both games. But anyway, so then they moved on and played the Phillies. And the Phillies, I think they lost the first 2. Then they won 1. So it was best of 5. So then they played them. It went into the extra innings. It was like real tight. Phillies and Dodgers. And if they lose, the Phillies season is over. It's the end of the season for the Phillies. And they're hanging by a thread. I think the thing went into like the 11th inning or something like that. And they don't have that ghost runner where they start a runner on second base in the extra innings in the playoffs. So it went into the 11th inning, and then somehow the Dodgers had the bases loaded. I think they intentionally walked somebody. Anyway, high pressure, massive pressure on the Phillies, And they were playing in Dodger Stadium, which was rocking. They always sell out all these games, and everybody's just going crazy in there, just all jacked up on. Who knows what they're jacked up on those Dodger dogs and those Michelob Ultras. Anyway, everybody's all fired up, and the place is just raucous, right? High pressure. This could be the end of it. The bases are loaded. Okay, they bring in this guy. They have 2 outs. So they bring in some guy from the bullpen. All they have to do, they bring him in to get the final out. They almost wriggled off the hook. Got the bases loaded, and so they bring the guy in. He's young, and he gets the batter to hit one. He hits it right back to the pitcher. All he has to do is throw it to first, and they're out of the inning, right? Just field it, throw it to first, they're out of the inning, and, everybody can exhale, right? So the guy hits it back to the pitcher, and everybody's like, yes, hell yeah, and he bobbles the ball. He doesn't catch it cleanly, bobbles it, it rolls away from him. He runs over there, picks it up. Instead of throwing it to first, he throws it home, right? He throws it to the catcher, throws it over the catcher's head. Game over, season over. Oh my God, it was gut wrenching. I mean, I'm not a Phillies fan. I'm not a Dodger. I'm definitely not a Dodgers fan. But so I didn't really have. If I was like invested, if this was like the Reds and that shit happened, I'd be like throwing up probably. I mean, the thing was a gut wrenching experience, even for a guy who's kind of casual and I'm not invested in this. But then I heard that guy, the pitcher. I mean, they want to kill this guy. I mean, Philly. This is Philly we're talking about. Philly fans are well. I mean, if you want to put a positive spin on it, they're very passionate people. These Phillies fans, very passionate. So they want to. So he was getting death threats. Apparently, reportedly. His parents were getting death threats, and his grandparents were getting death threats. And they said, I read articles said, can this guy ever pitch in Philadelphia again? I mean, will they be forced to trade him? Like, this guy's like, I mean, he's going to have to go in witness protection program. That shit is crazy. I mean, I felt bad for the guy. The guy was like despondent. All he had to do was field that ball cleanly, throw it over to first, out of the inning. Woo-hoo! Live another day. And he like hurled it way over the catcher's head. He like panicked. Now they want to kill his grandfather. Good Lord. That place is crazy down there. Philadelphia is insane. I mean, I don't want to come on here and just talk shit about Philadelphia all the time. But it's a wild place. They do have good sandwiches down there, though. I hand that to them. Yeah, there's some good stuff going on down there. There's a lot of stuff that's not so good. But anyway, that was wild. That shit was crazy. How'd you like to be that guy? He's going to have to go in witness protection. He's going to have to pitch under a fake name. He's going to have to come out there with like a big fake mustache. He's going to have to wear like a wig or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. So I thought that was crazy. I haven't really been watching since it moved on to the league championship series. I don't know. Hang on a second. Let me take another hit. It's good stuff. I was watching this the other night. I watched this. I've never seen it before. It was a full concert of the Beatles in 1965 in Paris. Right? It was the full thing. It was only like 35 minutes. They only play like these short concerts back in those days. I'd be pissed. Of course, it probably cost like $250 to get in. I'd be like, what the heck? It was like 35 minutes and they're gone, you know? They did an encore, though. I was wondering, they do encores back in those days? They have the same stuff going on as they do now? Where they play and they say, all right, good night. And then they leave and everybody's like stomping their feet and yelling and shit. And then they come back. Wow. I can't believe that you guys won't let us leave. This is a surprise. It's all theatrics. Although, when I saw Elvis Costello a few weeks ago, he just came out. He had no opening act. He just came out, played like 25 songs, maybe not that many. Probably like 22 songs, somewhere in that neighborhood. And just said, all right, good night, and left. Lights came on. None of that encore bullshit, which I found refreshing, One time I saw the Eels in Philly, and I've seen them many, many times. I've seen them more than any band, by far. But one time they played down there, and we were there, and they did an encore, the normal encore. The lights came up after the encore. Everybody filed out of the theater. And but I had read on the internet that they came back sometimes. Like they would do it. They'd do an encore, maybe 2 encores, whatever. And then the house lights would come up, and everybody would leave, and then they'd come out and play like 3 or 4 new additional songs like 10 minutes later. I don't know if it was 10 minutes, but it was a long time. So I read on the internet that was happening sometimes. So I told Steve, and I think my kids were with us. And we hung around. They came out and they played a whole bunch of, they played like 4 additional songs. There's nobody there. There's like maybe like 10 people in the audience. But anyway, so, but this Beatles thing, they played like a half hour and then they left, and then it was the whole thing where they stomped their feet, yelled, waved their hands in the air. Then they came out and played one more, But anyway, I'd never seen that before. I don't think I'd ever seen there's snippets of the Beatles playing live, but I don't think I'd ever seen like a full concert. And that thing's crazy, YouTube, I mean, everything in the world's on there. It's like the Museum of Broadcast History. So anyway, I watched that whole thing, and I was sitting there. I was like, these guys are like unbelievable, By the way, when I was watching that thing, everybody's like, it's 1965. Beatlemania was still raging a little bit. It wasn't as rabid as it was in 64. 63 in England and 64 in America. By 65, it was, cooling down a little bit, but it was still raging. So there's a bunch of teenage girls screaming and shit like that. And then, people going crazy in the audience, going wild. And then every once in a while, like it would pan across the people. This is in Paris, I think. And you'd see this guy like, I just came because it's a cultural phenomenon. I just wanted to see what all the. I mean, certainly there's a certain lowbrow excitement going on here, but it's no Coltrane. I can tell you that much. Certainly no Coltrane. These assholes that are sitting there with this like, I've seen it all. This does not impress me. I've seen everything, and I can understand why some of the lesser people here are excited by this spectacle, but you know what I'm saying. It's like I see these guys sitting out there, like just this look on their face, like, okay, what else you got, So anyway, I was thinking about how people. One of the things that you see on the internet all the time, like on Twitter or one of the Twitter clones, like that shit Threads. You ever see that thing? I think it's somehow associated with Instagram. It's like a Twitter clone. The things, all people just go on there and ask questions. They're like, "What is your favorite non-album with no skip songs?" It's like the same questions over and over. What was the first concert you ever went to? It's stuff. A lot of it's that kind of stuff. What's your go-to pizza toppings? And then like 500 people answer, and they argue, get in big arguments and stuff. But anyway, but one of the things that always gets talked about on there is what do you think are the most overrated bands of all time? Most overrated bands of all time. And immediately people say the Beatles. And I was like, hey, shit, okay. That's those guys that are sitting out there in the audience. Oh, this is certainly no Coltrane. That's contrarians, it's people, I don't know. Or it's just, I guess people are maybe sincere, but they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're talking straight out their ass. Sincere, yet their voice is coming straight out their ass. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. I don't want to get into a big, long dissertation about this, but there was nothing like that. You have to take context into consideration. This is the early 60s. There was nothing nobody sounded like that. Nobody played like that. Nobody wrote their own songs. Nobody played their own instruments. No rock bands, They didn't write their own. There's a couple of exceptions. Buddy Holly and the Crickets, for one. But hardly any rock bands. If you listen to one of their records, it's not them playing on it. It's session musicians. They didn't write the songs almost 100% of the time. You know, the Beatles changed everything. You look at the Billboard Top 40 before the Beatles, and it's all kinds of stupid shit like the Ballad of Davy Crockett and stuff like that. Just a bunch of novelty songs and crooning and shit, Perry Como and crap like that. You know, that's what was on the top 40, you know, before the Beatles. And then look what happened after the Beatles. Look what happened to the top 40 or the top 100 album chart. Check that out before and after and see how big and it's because of them. This is because of them. They're the ones that fired everybody up. They got everybody all whipped up. That all through the 60s. All that stuff, all because of the Beatles. I'm not even kidding. You know, all those albums, all those bands like the what do you call them, Nuggets? There's a Nuggets collection of all these like garage bands that popped up in the 60s. There's people, just like people that were inspired by the Beatles. And it's just like they just put out these records, recorded these records and played in their garage basically. And so there's all these collections of all these 60s bands that were all inspired by the Beatles, you know. And that stuff's great, man. There's a box set. Rhino has a box set of all these Nuggets. It's called Nuggets. I don't want to get into it, but it's all these bands from the 60s that nobody's ever heard of. That were just people that, like friends that got together and formed a band, you know. And there's some good stuff that come out of that. Anyway, I don't know. It's the context of it, people don't understand. They've lived their entire lives listening to music that was inspired by bands that were inspired by the Beatles, or even like like bands that were inspired by the Beatles, that were inspired by there was a band that was inspired by the Beatles, and then they inspired another band, and then they inspired another band. You know, so it's like three generations removed or something like that. And they listen to this all their lives, and then they hear the Beatles are like, so what? Like, so what? This is the source. This is the source material. This shit did not exist. Do you not understand? Context. Is this talking out your ass? It's no Coltrane. Anyway, I was watching that thing. I was like, you can see these guys. They played together so much. It's like one of those things where they don't even have to talk to each other. Just like a nod of the head or a look. They communicate just through looks. They played 10,000 hours together out in Germany. You know, they did all the work. But anyway, so I was watching that and I was like, this is fantastic, you know. And I saw the audience and I was like, that's interesting. And then I started thinking about how people say overrated bands. Beatles, I mean, the Beatles are overrated. I just, you know, I admire them, but, you know, it just doesn't do it for me. Okay. Just keep on talking. Anyway, I'm getting fired up. I don't know. It's something that should make me happy, and then it sends me off on a tangent. All right. Mark Maron's podcast, WTF, is coming to a close. It's over, I guess. I guess Monday was the last episode. I listened to that thing. That's one of the original, back when I first discovered podcasts, the early 2000s. I don't know what year it was. Like 2000, I don't know what year it was, 2008 or something, somewhere in that neighborhood. I was listening to Adam Carolla. That came out every day, 5 days a week, hour and a half every day. He did it like a radio show, and that thing was hilarious. I don't know. I haven't listened to him in a long time, but back in those days, that shit was funny. I mean, that thing was hilarious, you know. And it kind of went off the tracks a little bit. It talks about politics all the time. I don't want to hear about that. I don't care. Even if I agree, I don't want to hear about it. That's not what I'm listening for. I don't go to comedians for political commentary. I don't want to hear about it. And he does, so I kind of like drifted away from him. And Marin, all he does is interview creative people for like an hour. He just sits there and they go into in depth. And he's been doing that shit since, I don't know, 2007 or something like that. And I was on board early on, and there was a long period, like years, that I listened to every single episode completely through. I listened to every minute of every episode for years, hundreds and hundreds of episodes. It didn't matter who he interviewed. It was enjoyable just listening to the conversation, even if it was somebody who was like, "Oh boy, here we go." I'd listen to it. I remember he had some hippie, some guy that made hippie soap. It's like still one of the most bizarre episodes. Like, why? It's some kind of soap that he likes, and it's sold in like co-ops and stuff. It's like hippie soap. He had the guy. I don't know if it was the guy who started the company or if it was his son or something. Like, what the hell? Now you're just bringing in people who create products that you like. But anyway, that was a weird one. But anyway, I kind of like drifted a little bit, but I never completely abandoned Mark Maron's podcast. But I didn't want to listen. I just kind of picked and chose who I wanted to listen to. I didn't listen to every episode after a while because I didn't have enough time. And I don't want to. He started going off on interviewing actors and actresses a lot, and I have very little interest in that. Let me take another hit. I mean, there's exceptions to everything, but for the most part, actors are, they're just wonderful people. They're so caring. And they're just, they talk about the art. They're I don't know. They take themselves super seriously. Don't really say much. Just generally speaking. I know there's exceptions to everything. Just talking in generalities. It's just boring, And they take themselves, they're so wonderful. They're so wonderful in each and every way. It's better when he has comedians on there and sometimes writers and musicians. Anyway, I listened to it for a long, long time. It's played a big part in my over the last 15 years of my life. It's I still listen to it, and it's over. He said he feels like it's run its course, so that kind of sucks. So I signed up for this thing the other day. I don't know how this is going to go. It's a $3 per month access to his archive, to the entire archives. So I signed up for it, and I might listen to it from the beginning. I don't know how that's going to go because I don't have time. I really don't have time to do that. But when I'm driving, maybe I can listen to it. But I climbed on board around the time he interviewed Gallagher. And he pissed Gallagher off, and he stormed out in the middle of the interview. And that was right. I think I listened to maybe like a couple episodes prior to that, and that's where I jumped on board. That was a long time ago. That was back when he started, right? But it was still like episode 100 or something. So I never listened to those prior 100 episodes. Whatever it is. So I'm going to start listening to them from the beginning and see how that goes. If it doesn't work out, I'll just cancel the $3 and I got it set up in my my podcast app. And I got it sorted so that the oldest ones are at the top. And I'm just going to start powering through them. It's a great podcast. The guy irritates the shit out of me sometimes. Especially in the intros. Sometimes, if he's just talking about stuff that's going on in his life, that's fine. I like it. He does like a 10-minute preamble before he gets into the interview. And he started going off on politics too. Like, I don't want to hear any of this. I mean, Corolla goes off on conservative rants, and Marin goes off on liberal rants. I don't want to hear either one of them. I don't want to hear any of that shit. That's not what I don't want to go to Mark Marin or Adam Carolla for political commentary. Seriously, am I wrong about this? I don't want to hear any of that shit. It's annoying. If I want to hear politics, I'll go to somewhere where there's people that are, know what they're talking about. That's what they do for a living. Not a comedian who has opinions. Not a comedian who has an axe to grind, a chip on their shoulder. Am I wrong? I don't think I am. But anyway, that's over. That sucks. And a return, though, on the positive note, Slow Horses is back. One of my favorite shows. That thing's fantastic. That's on Apple TV. There was an episode the other day, the most recent episode as I record this. I think it's episode 3 in season 5. That I was dying laughing. I was laughing out loud. That thing was. I mean, it's not a cop. It's a cop show. It's not a comedy, but just like The Sopranos, there's a lot of humor. And some of the episodes, that most recent episode, Slow Horses, season 5, episode 3, hilarious. Or I just laugh out loud. I used to work with this guy. I don't know if this is common, but I never heard anybody else do this. But he used to say, LOL, which is a laugh out loud, internet speak or whatever. He used to go, lol. Instead of laughing, he'd just go, lol. You ever heard this? It's like, that's how you laugh. You just say, lol. So yeah, that's the way I laugh. So, all right, well, that's weird and off-putting. But anyway, I'm tired, boys and girls. We're past the 30-minute mark, so I'm going to call it a day. We are going to Myrtle Beach this weekend. We got non-refundables stacked up, and I feel guilty again about everything. I feel guilty all the time. Maybe in this, I don't know. Should I cancel my vacation and go down there? Not going to happen, but I'm going to feel guilty about it. Anyway, I liked my Aunt Charlotte was nice. She was a very nice person, and she was she was one of the good ones. So it sucks that there's only 2 left. But anyway, enough of that. We're at the end of this thing, and if you want to call in and voice your opinion about any of the stuff I was going off about today, or anything else on your mind, give me a call, 570-290-8151. That's the number. And you can call around the clock. And if you want 2 episodes a week instead of a measly 1, you can do that too. We got that all set up for you. It's all... You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is go to patreon.com. It's Patreon, patreon.com/JeffK. Sign up for a $4 or more monthly donation. It helps me out a great deal, and you get an extra episode every time. Every time I post one to the main network, a couple days later, a few days later, there's an extra bonus episode for patrons only. Full length, just like these. I'm not talented enough to do them differently. I do what I do, and that's what I do. So if you want to tap into that extra bonus episode, there's a bunch of them in there. I mean, over 200 bonus episodes. You get instant access to those and all the new ones as they're released. Do that today. Patreon.com. I already did that. Patreon.com/JeffK. All right, and surfreportpod.com is the web home of the podcast. Check that out as well. We're at the end of this thing. Thank you guys for listening. Until next time, which will be over on the Patreon side, hope you guys have yourselves a fine, fine day. I'll see you. Bye. season of high guilt.